So we need a line tangent to the curve at -1, -1. So there's a point -1, -1. It needs to be tangent, so it touches at just one spot. So it might look something like that. To be sure of what that line is, we need to know what the slope is at -1, 1. And since we can't get y by itself, we're going to need to use implicit differentiation to find that slope. So I'm evaluating the derivative with respect to x of this whole thing, because then I will have a dy dx that I can solve for. So derivative with respect to x of x squared is just 2x. The derivative with respect to y to the third is 3y squared times dy dx, because y could be written as a function of x in theory, right? We could get y by itself, could take a derivative, we can know exactly what it is. Now we could just write it in terms of x here. But because y is so complicated in terms of x, we can't can't practically do that algebra, so instead we use a placeholder. Okay, when you evaluate this derivative, we're using the chain rule. The 3 comes down and gets reduced by 1 just like it usually does. But now a derivative of the innermost function with the chain rule, we don't know how to say that in terms of just x, so we write dy dx in its place. So if you're taking a derivative with respect to x, when you come to a y term, there better be a dy dx left over. Derivative with respect to x of 7x is just 7. Derivative with respect to x of -7y is -7. The 1 comes down and gets reduced by 1. So that's -7 dy dx, because that's y to the 0 in there. Okay, and so to finish this out, we're looking for a slope at that point, right? So we want to know what dy dx is. So I'm going to get rid of these two terms because they have nothing to do with dy dx. Let's get something with just dy dx on one side of the equation. So I'm going to subtract that 7, subtract that 2x from both sides. Okay, so this stayed and this stayed on the left side, because now I can factor out dy dx from everything. And the last step to get dy dx by itself is to divide this 3y squared minus 7 from both sides. Okay, so we got dy dx equals -2x minus 7 over 3y squared minus 7. So now we have something to tell us what the slope is at an instant. They want the slope at -1, -1. So the slope of the tangent line at -1 for x and -1 for y is found by simplifying this. So -2 times -1 makes +2, 2 minus 7 makes -5, and -1 squared makes 1, 3 times 1 makes 3, 3 minus 7 makes -4. So it looks to be a slope of 5/4. So on this graph, from this point, I want to rise up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and run to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. And there it is.